I'm Alan Ross. I'm the managing editor of APC Technologies, and we are here at the NETA, the International Electrical Testing Association, their 2023 Power Tech Conference, doing interviews. My guest with me is the Director of Communications for APC Media, Rachel Linke. Rachel, thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely, Alan. Would miss it.
We're just going to have an interesting time with all of these people, and tell me what you like best about these interviews.
The best part about these interviews, I feel like, is that it really brings about a lot of great thought leadership, and I really just love how you make everybody feel so comfortable, Alan. You really try to get people to just be comfortable and in their own skin, and then so much great information comes out of it. So
let's see if we made people in the next interview comfortable. Enjoy. My next guest is Dan Hook. He is the president of CBS Field Services. Dan, thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
So, first of all, go a little bit into your background and your role at CBS Field Services. You actually created the Field Services Group.
Yeah. Back in after my time in the U.S. Navy, went to work for Group CBS with a partner of mine, Craig Archer, and our charge was to build a field service division accompanying the other Group CBS companies, and the initial goal was to become NETA accredited, and to gain that recognition and that immediate what's the right word?
Gravitas.
Gravitas, yeah.
That's a great word.
That stature as a NETA accredited company.
And you're on the NETA board, correct?
I am. Just a few days ago was elected as the first vice president.
Okay.
So I've got about another year in that role, and then I'll do my turn in the barrel as the president for a 2-year term.
Okay. And we're going to talk a little bit about one of the parts of NETA that I really want to promote, and that is the apprenticeship program that you all are working on with the Department of Labor. But before we go there, okay, what I really want to talk about is obviously when you looked at the need for field services, because the CBS group CBS was primarily equipment, if I understand it.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a whole sea change to say we're going to take that equipment out in the field, we're going to add human element to it, and now we're going to talk about why you did that and what were some of the challenges of doing that.
Yeah, so it appears on the surface maybe that it is that sea change, but it's somewhat of a natural progression if you're willing to take that avenue. So Group CBS, 40, 45 years old, something like that. The expertise that they have in shop kind of leads customers to, I can't bring it to you. Can you please come out on site and help me with this challenge? And the breaker shops do that type of support. But what we also found was if we have an effective NETA accredited field service group, and you're the first one to know that there may be equipment problems, and you can provide solutions by bringing customers' equipment back to the shop and performing those types of services in the shop. So there's a great synergy between field service and the equipment industry, but they do have their unique challenges for sure.
Very much so unique, because the people working in a shop go home every night, right?
That's true.
And the people in the field sometimes don't. So what is the saying? You better not own a goldfish if you're going to be in field service, because he's going to die.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
Correct.
That is a challenge, and one of the biggest challenges that we have, not only supply chain issues, we have labor supply chain issues.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about the difficulty of hiring, training, keeping staff that are in the field service roles.
It's a hard job, and it's been a challenge for a really long time. And I feel like the most recent labor shortages in many other industries has given us an opportunity to talk about our ongoing labor shortages. We've talked about utility expertise aging out for years.
Yeah.
We've talked about how the electric power industry is not as sexy as computer engineering or software engineering or IT. I prefer the industry because I like to see and my hands work better than necessarily just typing.
Which, by the way, what did you do in the Navy?
I was an electrician in the Navy, and then went to engineering school in my last tour in the Navy. So the challenges are it's a hard job. We do rely on trade schools. We rely on military training throughout all of the forces. Have some sort of path that gets some transferable skills that we enjoy. And so we rely on them for what we would call our entry-level technicians, and then we put the time and the effort into them, and many of them, most of them work out well. However, 3 to 5 years, maybe 7 is kind of that decision point.
Yeah.
You're going to do this for 3 to 7 years maybe, and you're either going to continue for a longer career, or that's when you decide that there may be something that's more conducive to lifestyle that you want. So that middle ground, dare I say middle class in there is a challenge for sure, and it has been for a long time.
It's kind of the same problem with the military. They're trying to get that.
Correct.
It
is. It is very, very similar to that middle in the military. It's that 8 to 16 year, 8 to 14 year tenured soldier.
Do you think that instead of having like 30-year people, in one case, people get so habitual in what they do that they can make mistakes. They're not looking for the risks. It's not behavioral safety. It's more, hey, I follow a process. Versus people that are coming into it. Talk a little bit about the challenge of having people work in the field safely, and how do you all handle it?
It is a challenge. The electrical industry is one of the most unforgiving industries as far as safety. You can hurt yourself in a lot of different ways, but the statistics show very clearly that the percentages of severe and permanent disability and even death are much, much higher in the electrical industry than I believe any other.
I think it's a 10 to 1. An OSHA thing is 10 to 1. You have an incident here, it's 10 times more likely to lead to a fatality than if you have it in a mechanical situation.
And you can go all the way down to those, the recordable injuries all obviously stem out of the unsafe work practices which you choose to do or not do safely every single day. So at our company we really focus on the minutia, the day in, day out, because we know that pyramid starts with everyday unsafe work practices. If you can be safe every single day, you're in a much better situation of avoiding those recordables and avoiding the permanent disability and the death and stuff.
Okay. You mentioned the breaker shops, right? Breakers are changing. They're going a lot more solid state versus old electromechanical. And if you have SF6 breakers, they want to take all the SF6 out and they want to replace it with gases that Siemens and Hitachi Energy and I imagine GE's are working on them too. But talk a little bit about change in breaker technology that you now have to have field services change, whether you're changing them out or you have new technology. Talk a little bit about new.
Yes, so the electromechanical devices of the 70s are nearly exactly like my 75 GMC pickup. It's very easy to fix.
Do you have a 75 GMC?
I have a 75 GMC pickup.
I love that. You have a truck made in the last century.
Yes. And if you lean up against it, there's no dents or anything. It's built very solidly. So, and I can fix that on the side of the road, and it's somewhat intuitive even. Nowadays, a current generation breaker from any manufacturer is microprocessor controlled.
Right.
There may or may not be proprietary software to connect to it. You need to have at least some information technology software knowledge to be able to connect to it, make changes to settings, certainly test it. Some of them they have to actually go into test mode for you to get valid results.
Yeah.
So the technology that we require our technicians to utilize in the field of testing comes along with a lot of the other technology that we deal with in our daily lives. Software and microprocessors and whatnot.
You mentioned your truck. The same is true in mechanics for cars. It's not the same as where we could take, hey, there's a rotor cap, but it's got these things, and you change X number of spark plugs. But now it's very technical for that, and they have to be highly trained in order to use the tools that they use.
That is correct.
The industry is changing, and NETA is changing as a result of that. you must be involved with the apprenticeship program that they're working with the Department of Labor.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that, because I think that's a game changer.
It is a game changer because it's an opportunity for us to do this as an industry.
Yeah.
NETA's 51, 52 years old now. And we've worked together for a long time, and obviously we put on a great conference and all those other things, but it's been a challenge with workforce development. And a little bit of robbing Peter to pay Paul, so to speak.
Well, a little poaching.
Yeah, a little bit of poaching. There's many terms for it. This is an opportunity to help the industry as the industry, and hopefully can come together and see the greater good and see how this is going to help all of us, and it can help all of us simultaneously. It's not a zero-sum game. Maybe that's the best way to say it.
Right.
This is about bringing more people into the industry, so we're not just poaching. We're not just trying to trade the highest talent depending upon what year it is and how many dollars an hour someone makes. This is a way to somebody said many years ago, enlarge the pie. And so that's what's exciting about this, and Steve Newton has done an excellent job of spearheading this, and he should be very proud of what he's accomplished so far.
Many years ago, I lobbied on behalf of the Electric Power Reliability Alliance, SMRP, Society of Maintenance, there were a bunch of groups. We went to Washington and we lobbied for the Perkins Act, for a renewal of the Perkins Act, and it was the only unanimously passed Senate, House, signed by President Trump act that they ever did together.
Interesting.
It was a $5 billion investment in basically high school, going back to the old shop days to get people ready to do that. And I don't know where it stands now. They got the money, but the Department of Labor program for the Perkins Act was an important thing back then. However, if you don't have these apprenticeship programs, it kind of goes scattered, right? Now I think it can be very focused. Last question for you. You are the first vice president. You'll become president and have a 2-year term.
Yes.
What's your vision for NETA? Oh, by the way, it's called International Electrical Testing, but I still see it as NETA.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it started as national, and fairly quickly, even before my time, we wanted to broaden our reach beyond our own borders. So we called it international, but it's known as NETA, and it has been for so long. We kept the logo, kept the name, and so we're NETA, but we are international.
Excellent. So talk a little bit about your vision for the future.
So great segue. Okay. So our international, 10 or 15 years ago, our international footprint was Canada and the United States. Okay. So technically we were international.
Well, that's just the 51st state.
But very, very North.
I grew up in Canada.
Oh,
so
did you?
Say that. Okay.
Yeah. North America centric for sure. Since I've been part of NETA and been part of the board, we have South American, Central American, Caribbean, Middle Eastern companies. We actually have a gentleman visiting from Australia this year that is in the application process and is looking very, very promising there. So my vision is our membership group has done such a great job of starting to scratch the surface of actually putting the I in International Electrical Testing Association. We really need to leverage that. I don't have to tell anybody that the world's getting smaller, and it has been for a really long time, and it's time for NETA to catch up with the globalization, although that's the bad G word sometimes. But in
it's
our
still globalization, it's just focused.
In our industry, that's a good thing.
Yes.
That's an absolute good thing.
Well, good luck to you. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah.